Hello, this is Pseudo. Welcome back. And today I thought I would record a little video on how I make all of my money in Guild Wars 2. Over the past, I want to say about a year or so, I've actually made more money than I've ever made in the game before. And everyone always asks me whenever they jump into my streams, how in the world do you make all of your money? And this is a little short video on it. So, here's the secret. It's pretty easy. All you have to do to make money in this game is I make and sell End of Dragons legendaries. That's it. Subscribe. Cheers. I'll see you in Tyria. No, but for real. So this is actually a really easy process. I was not lying. I make and sell End of Dragons legendaries, but it's much easier than most people make it out to be. And I'll be going through that process right now. So strap in and hang out if you'd like some tips on how to do that optimally. The main currency you'll be gated on for making End of Dragons legendaries is called Imperial Favor. It's also why End of Dragons legendaries have retained their value for so long. Imperial Favor is a wallet currency that's normally acquired through playing events in End of Dragons, but can also be acquired through consuming Writs, acquired through completing hero points, Karma Heart vendors once you complete that heart, and one specific vendor in the 4 various zones. I park 5 alts at each of these hero points and 1 at the vendor to get the daily Writs that are worth it. And I also park a couple alts at chests for Jade Runestones, which are one of the materials that you will need to craft End of Dragons legendaries. There are 2 in Seitung Province that you can do, as well as 2 in New Kaineng City. I'll roll through those right now. So there's this one, you ring the bell, you fight the deer that doesn't do any damage to you, and is just minding its own business. The second repeatable Seitung hero point is this golem over at the training grounds. It's pretty easy to kill. I like to use a Vindicator because I can just avoid his dodges and stay in place. And all the hero points that are closest to these will be linked in the description as well. The main thing you will be gated on when you're making End of Dragons legendaries is, again, Imperial Favor. It is a wallet currency. You'll see it shows up on most of the End of Dragons maps as well. And that's why you're doing this. These hero points give Writs, whether it's Writs of Seitung Province, Writs of New Kaineng City, Echovald Wilds, or Dragon's End. You want these Writs to be able to convert into Imperial Favor. I do have a pro tip as well. Don't consume the Echovald Wild Writs, because there's 1 less hero point that you can do in Echovald Wilds daily than the other 2. And that's this guy. It's on a global timer, and it can only be repeated 4 minutes from the last person who popped it. I don't know why. #ANET things. So sometimes you'll log in, you'll see like this person here waiting to be able to pop this dude. Recently I learned that this hero point does have a global 4-minute cooldown timer, but only if you haven't already completed it that day. Super convenient, I know. So if you do complete this hero point, it's a good idea to pop it again for future players and log out without getting hit. You know, pay it forward, so that the hero point will be hostile to whoever runs up and they won't have to wait the global 4-minute cooldown timer. Maybe it's ANET trying to encourage cooperation between players? Or maybe it's just bugged. ANET, if you want to fix that, that'd be great. The Dragon's End one is a little bit different. Dragon's End does not have hero points, but it does have a vendor that you can park at. However, there's one thing you don't want to buy from this vendor, and it's right near the starting point. Park a dude here, talk to the vendor. You don't want to buy this one, so buy the one that you can use Karma, and the one that you can exchange 3 Writs from other maps for 5 Writs from Dragon's End, because 5 is a greater number than 3. Don't buy this one that takes 10 Imperial Favor, because that's just converting Favor down, because each Writ only gives you 5 Imperial Favor, so that one's not really worth it. But we can show off these jumping puzzles again. A lot of the materials that you'll be putting into these End of Dragons legendaries are pretty expensive, so it's good to have these alts parked at various locations. These are the Jade Runestone locations that I do. There's one in New Kaineng. There's actually 2 in Echovald Wilds. This one has a chance to give a Jade Runestone, but it's still worth it, I find. Today we didn't get one, but I have gotten them in the past. When you're doing map completion as well, it's a really good idea to buy all of the Writs you can from all the Karma vendors after you finish a heart. The hearts aren't too egregious for End of Dragons. There's only a couple in each map, but you really don't want to forget to buy those once you finish the heart, because again, it's just more Imperial Favor. So you've got all your materials and you want to craft an Aurene legendary. Let's pull up Firefox. Most people know this, but crafting an Aurene legendary, again, the price has not dropped since I've started telling people this. It looks daunting, but it's pretty simple. We'll look at Dragon's Claw just as an example, and then into Aurene's Claw. You can craft the precursors if you want to save a little bit more money. I don't recommend doing this because crafting each precursor takes another 100 memories of Aurene, as well as I think 500 Imperial Favor. And since you're already gated on Imperial Favor, it takes like 2,000 per legendary. I wouldn't do this. I just usually put in buy orders for whatever legendary I'm trying to craft for the precursor, since they do drop separately. Notes about antique summoning stones. I don't recommend buying this one as well. I don't think it's really worth it. 100 Imperial Favor, again, since it's the thing that you are gated on isn't really worth it to me, especially since the price of antique summoning stones has dropped so much. But again, you do you. If you have a bunch of time to play PvE, your mileage may vary. All right, so say we want to craft Dragon's Claw into Aurene's Claw as an example. We will need 4 things. We'll need a gift, we'll need a precursor, we'll need another gift, and we'll need a gift of money. The gift of money is actually less egregious than most things. It only takes 38 Mystic Clovers. I recommend doing your dailies because gambling for these is a nightmare. If you have terrible RNG like I do, I recommend just buying these from weekly vendors. They do take Mystic Coins, most of the vendors, but people like just the Mystic Forge Attendant, most, whether it's a Fractal person or Mystic Forge Attendant, I find this a much more monetarily and time efficient way to attain Mystic Clovers. As far as getting the materials for the rest of the money, buy orders with your friend. Again, you're not trying to bang this out in one day. If you do, you're going to lose money. But amalgamated draconic lodestones are usually flooded into the game during festivals, especially festivals like Super Adventure Box, that you can buy from the weekly trader for relatively cheap currencies or currencies that don't themselves have any value. So try to stock up on these yourselves when you are able to play a festival. There is currently Dragon's Bash going on in the game, but by the time this video goes up, that will be long past. Some festivals are worth it, some are not. Again, you do the math, figure out what's going to work. Gift of Cantha is the one you get for world completing. And again, I recommend just loading End of Dragons world completion up on your favorite handheld, whether it's using Blish HUD or Teket's module pack or whatever, and just following the line for map completion. I will have some footage that I can have in the background of that, me hopefully doing that. But it's one of the most relaxing things that you can do, just do a map. And again, doing all 4 maps, especially since Dragon's End doesn't have any hearts to complete, takes maybe 3 or 4 hours, probably less than that if you get really, really good at it. But if you're just going casually, you can bang out the entire map completion, basically what it would take you to try and then get bored of Quarteria map completion. Going back to our materials list, poems, Mystic Runestones, and Gifts of the Mists. You will need a Gift of Battle, which will gate a lot of people. But again, hey, come play with us. Vanguards of Ascension, hit us up for our alliance for World vs. World now, since those are a thing. All of the other materials are basic stuff for crafting legendaries, so I'm not going to go into them too much. But if you have any questions, post them in the comments and I'll tell you the best way to get it in my experience. All of these different poems take Lamplighter badges. You can buy these from vendors. I don't know why you would ever do that, because they are exchangeable for like gifts of exploration. Alternatively, they're like 50 silver on the trading post, so don't know why. Everything else is bought or crafted pretty much just by orders, again, are your friend. So you have your Gift of Aurene's Claw, you have your Dragon's Claw. So Gift of Jade Mastery, you get your 100 Jade Runestones, hopefully from parking. You get your 100 chunks of Ancient Ambergris, either through fishing. There's a fishing vendor that I can show off that no one knows about, that you can convert fish into these, where you can buy a certain number of chunks of Ancient Ambergris per day. He's all the way down here in Arborstone. They put him in the most convenient place possible. So if you have a bunch of fish, you can talk to this guy and convert your fish into chunks of Ancient Ambergris. Again, you can only buy 5 per day, but I recommend just putting in buy orders for this. I find it the most efficient, and you can convert fish up because that's how fish work. Gift of Dragon Empire is going to be one of the things that, again, you're the most gated on because it requires these Blessings of the Jade Empress, which take Imperial favor. You need 5 per legendary, and they are bought from the Jade Empress, who is over here at the Monastery Waypoint. I'll need to run down here into the palace, which they just leave cracked open because you're so friendly and no one nefarious would ever run in here. And you talk to the Jade Empress's assistant, this person, and she scalps you for Gifts of the Jade Empress. However, in order to even get an audience with this, you need statues, which I will graciously show you how to obtain in the natural environment, the trading post. So you can get these through just playing the game. Again, the Jade Gate one is going to be the only one that costs any kind of real money, but I usually just buy these from the trading post, give them all to her. Thankfully, there's an option to just give her the full set, and then you will need 5 of these for each legendary that you make. So, Imperial favor, kind of a thing. Another thing you might be gated on is research notes. These hydrocatalytic reagents, you need a bunch of them. I believe 2 stacks per legendary. The easiest way I have found, if you're a veteran, to get these is to salvage Ascended armor, but not just any Ascended armor. If you have Ascended armor, whether you get it through the Wizard's Vault or Ascended weapons, so instead of just salvaging whatever stat you have, which in this case we have a Trailblazers one, which probably salvages into the same thing, but I will show you what I do. And correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, feel free. But I always stat convert them over. It takes more spirit shards, but I've found for whatever reason, grieving, statted, ascended armor and weapons tend to give more research notes when you research or salvage them via a research kit. I guess research them. So it takes 5 ecto. It takes 10 spirit shards. So again, if you're gated on spirit shards, this may not be for you. I'm perpetually gated on spirit shards since I've started making legendaries. It's a thing. Don't ask. Throw all these things into the Mystic Forge, and you get out a grieving, statted, ascended weapon or armor piece. Thankfully, the mosaic is the same for both weapons and armor. And then if you research note it, I got about 250 research notes out of that. See the change in the number from when I was at that vendor. So yeah, the 2 things you're going to be gated on again are research notes and Imperial favor. If you don't have a bunch of ascended armor and weapons sitting around, I recommend just Googling, current date and best way to get research notes. One popular way was to actually use or craft potions of undead slaying or any similar potions because you get them en masse and then you can research them. It's not the best currency ArenaNet's ever done, but it was a good way to balance the economy, so it is what it is. Take all these gifts and you throw them into the Mystic Forge and you get a legendary, and then you list the legendary and you wait. A good time to list final maybe tips for this are right before big releases. So since there is an expansion coming up, or maybe it's finally dropped by the time I put this video out, that will be a good time to list because there will be more people playing, as well as, if they have an Aurene spear, and since everything's getting spear. But jokes aside, if something's getting a new weapon, say LE pistol or NG shortbow, lol, those are good times to list because people will want those new shiny legendaries for their new shiny weapons master proficiency. But yeah, each legendary I make is about 1,000 to 1,500 gold profit, depending on what you have or your time invested in putting in buy orders or your patience. But I've found this to be a really good way to make gold since Age of Dragons has come out. And especially since Soto, I have found it extremely easy because they have, even though I don't raid or do fractals on the regular anymore, I still do occasionally. This is a really good way to obtain most of the things that you need, even if you just need startup capital via the Mystic Coins, the guaranteed gold, some of the heavy crafting materials, or the laurels, which are again can be used for crafting materials, mystic clovers. Why would you ever need tier 5, but maybe obsidian shards and ascended armor and weapons. But that's pretty much it. Crafting End of Dragons legendaries, a lot of mystic forging. Kind of a pain, but not really if you know what to do. Once you make one, it'll be a lot easier. I recommend making one Engine of Dragons legendary, selling it via listing, and then sitting on the money to buy order more materials. So, happy crafting! And hopefully you spread the word, because this is not a secret. This is just something I've found that works really well for making money in Guild Wars 2, and I have literally never had as much money as I do in this game since I started doing this, and that's with giving away 100 to 500 gold every week when I stream, Mondays and Wednesdays, and sometimes Friday at 9 o'clock for World vs. World, roaming, and more tips like this. Yeah, I'm Pseudo. Hope you've enjoyed. Subscribe if you like that, and cheers! I'll see you in Interior.